big pile of loot with your buddy. It also is a great validation for the playtest. I mean, they mentioned not just working together, but playtesting together for this event. And it's so great when you and your teammates reach the finals together because you realize, like, we were right. You know, we called the meta correctly, we built the right decks, and this is our reward for that meeting in the final. Sure, only one of us can win, but there's a lot of satisfaction in knowing that your preparation paid off.
So LvGe aggressively held onto that Death Lord in the opening hand. It is going to not necessarily be a disruptor on the board, but be more of a disruptor in the grand scheme of things. Able to pull Reno Jackson from the deck, able to pull N'Zoth from the deck, some very key cards in this matchup for Jinsoo. If LvGe can pull them without their battle cries, then that's going to be really, really good.
A card that's not too great in either deck. Both of them are running Skulking Geist, tech card of the tournament, but the only thing that would be removed from either deck would be the 2 Shield Slams in LvGe's deck.
Okay, that's not inconsequential, but probably not relevant until much later on, I would say.
Yeah.
So Jinsoo can wait around to find that Skulking Geist.
We're looking for the first shield block. No, or the shield slam. Was maybe hoping to get rid of that. Now let it all go.
Death Lord can die.
But you're giving him a free minion. Oh!
But you're denying him a lot of minions later on.
Oh, wow. That is an incredibly lucky Death Lord draw, given that, of course, it's a bunch of 30 singletons. There's really not, I mean, there's not that many options, though.
One little point, though, Rumham. The secret that came out from Mad Scientist is duplicate.
Oh, no.
If LvGe kills off that N'Zoth, 2 more will rise in its place into the hand of Jinsoo. So LvGe is actually going to need to wait for Jinsoo to trade off that N'Zoth.
I don't know if
why
that's
would
happen.
he ever have to?
So, wow, so Jinsoo's just going to make aggression here with this 5/7, and it's just 5. Like, basically the question is, can LvGe just survive 5 damage a turn until Jinsoo, hits 10 cards in hand and has to, like, do something?
I mean, LvGe can survive for a really long time with this deck. You're playing Justicar Trueheart for a reason. Tank Up can get you very, very far in the world.
And things like Acolyte of Pain and Sludge Belcher can buy you time. I mean, turn 7, you can do like Acolyte of Pain plus Blood Razor just to, you know, get some cards in hand, force them to make a little reaction. And that is the Ice Block as well. So now both secrets are out. Mad Scientist gone. You know, it's as much as we've seen people like draw the wrong card at the wrong time, Reno Mage has been very good this tournament about its Mad Scientist always pulling one of the 2 secrets. We haven't really seen any of the Reno Mage decks end up with a bad master or Mad Scientist at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's been quite consistent. Just taking a look at this Warrior deck list from LvGe, there's a copy of Dirty Rat, which, again, could be used to potentially pull a strong card from hand of Jinsoo, Kazakus, or Reno Jackson, namely. There is 1 more copy of Death Lord. There is 1 Direhorn Hatchling, 2 Sludge Belchers, and the N'Zoth. And other than that, you have a lot of removal. You have Justicar for armor, and that Skulking Geist, which we already said probably wouldn't be hitting too much in these matchups. So it's just a really anti-aggressive deck, and this is unfortunately not an aggressive deck that LvGe is facing down.
Ops did not play the Acolyte of Pain. I guess he maybe didn't want to overdraw, or just felt like he didn't want to use it right now. He can always use it again on the Death Rattle effect of the Blood Razor, but it looks like LvGe's just trying to play cards out of his hand and sit around, stay alive.
Even if Acolyte of Pain had drawn all 3 cards, LvGe would have maxed out at 10 on his natural draw. I do think that fatigue is something to consider in this matchup. LvGe has already played 2 shield blocks. Jinsoo has played his Mad Scientist. There's Arcane Intellect in the deck, so both guys want to be drawing a decent amount, but they don't want to be drawing more than their opponent.
Sure. It is crazy that Jinsoo is so disincentivized to play any more cards. I mean, even though something like Sludge Belcher, normally you duplicate a Sludge Belcher or a Piloted Shredder and you're high-fiving all up and down the block. Like, yeah, so much value. But the fact that he won't have a natural N'Zoth, could have 2 N'Zoths, means that he's really in this situation of, like, I guess I just, like, Firelance Portal you in the face over play any sort of minion. Oh, he's going to run the Death Lord out there. That seems really risky because now LvGe at least knows that's a duplicate and can kill the Death Lord for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to ensure that Jinsoo will not have access to a natural copy of N'Zoth this game. He's already gotten quite a bit of damage with this N'Zoth and will continue to if LvGe doesn't have a way to kill it off this turn. And just naturally looking at these decks, Jinsoo has a significantly higher amount of pressure in the deck than LvGe, just much more minions, much more minion generation, with the duplicate, with the Zula the Gorgon, with Echo of Medivh, and all of the Death Rattles and Frostlich Jaina. So even losing N'Zoth It's still not even close as to who's the one applying the pressure this game. It is always going to be Jinsoo.
LvGe would have really loved to have drawn that Justicar by now, because turn 6 Justicar plus tank up allows him to not ignore all the damage. He still would be bleeding a little bit, but when your biggest fear was a 5/5 on the board and you're gaining 4 armor a turn, you can live for a very long time.
So if LvGe is never going to be winning this game based on pressure. It's just really, really unlikely that he is able to mount enough, as there just are so few minions in the deck. So now we're looking at what are other game plans. Is fatigue ever an option? And he does have 1 copy of Cold Light Oracle. The 2 Death Lords pull minions from the deck. So there maybe is a world where LvGe can apply a little bit of pressure with his minions, with his N'Zoth, and then takes this one into fatigue and ensures that Jinsoo is ahead of him. I'm thinking that's probably his best game plan.
I agree with you. I mean, I think, while we always think of Reno decks as being able to go pretty deep into fatigue and last a really long time, I would be willing to bet on this Control Warrior surviving in fatigue. So I think that might be his game plan here. But yeah, at some point, like, duplicate is still there. So do you kill Zola? Like, killing Zola is not a much better duplicate.
You don't.
He's got to figure a way.
And Jinsoo having found that Zola means, well, there's your copy of N'Zoth back again.
Yeah, and so there, thankfully, is... oh, yeah, because it says there, the N'Zoth already is back, so you're not even really denying that value there. So you could execute the Death Lord, but it's a turn too late. You really wanted to do that, you know,
here's the thing.
last round.
Kill Zola, and Jinsoo gets 2 more N'Zoths. Kill Death Lord, and Jinsoo's able to pull 2 more minions directly out of LvGe's deck.
Which could be a Justicar.
Thinning the deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, which could be Justicar, which just puts LvGe further into the deck, closer to fatigue. And kill N'Zoth, and he gets 2 more N'Zoths. None of this is good for LvGe.
There's a decent amount of, like, stinky pulls that would be okay, though, from the Death Lord. Like, I would be all right with the Dry Whisker armor coming out, as opposed to one of the bigger things. Skulking Geist is actually a great pull, because it's just a 4/6 vanilla. Sludge Belcher is okay. Harrison Jones is fine, because there's no weapons in Jinsoo's deck. So there's a handful of, like, okay statted minions that'll come out there. But here we go. Let's see what duplicate pulls.
Well, since N'Zoth was on the board first, it will be procced by the duplicate. It will be the first one to technically die.
That is a ton of N'Zoths. Wow. And now I'm not so convinced about the fatigue plan. My belief in the fatigue plan has gone away, because 1 brawl is already out of hand. So that's one of the main ways you would probably reset a N'Zoth, and he's going to have 2 more of them.
This is a lot of pressure. This is definitely not the matchup that LvGe wanted to hit with this deck. This isn't like the old Control Warriors, where all they run is removal, and against Control their game plan is at least Starseeker. And you just build up a giant hand of removal that you don't want to use, and you turn it into legendaries, and those legendaries are supposed to get you there. There's no Elise available here, so all of this removal is just dead removal for most of the game. And suddenly, when Jinsoo has 3 N'Zoths available for him to play, it's likely that no amount of removal is going to be enough to get LvGe across the finish line.
In hindsight, I wonder if it was correct of LvGe to ban out the Control Warrior deck of Jinsoo, because if Jinsoo had to play his Control Warrior deck up against Reno Mage or Reno Warlock, I'm not super convinced it would have won. So I'm surprised that he opted to take that out of the matchup, looking at how much this deck seems to be struggling against the value-generating Reno decks.
So the Warrior deck from Jinsoo has one big difference from the Warrior deck of LvGe, and that's a copy of Dead Man's Hand. And I wonder if that single copy of Dead Man's Hand is enough of a reason for LvGe to ban it away. I honestly don't know. That's a really tough call to make when you're facing down so many powerful decks, but I mean, that's what Wild is. It is so many powerful decks.
LvGe trying to stay alive here. He did manage to Dirty Rat 1 of the N'Zoths out, but of course when your opponent has 3 N'Zoths in hand, they can afford to play 1 as a 5/7 vanilla, and it's just a good... it's a pretty good pit fighter. A little tougher than a pit fighter.
You got 2 more to back it up. You are not too worried right about now.
Wow, and really the duplication here, I think, in what we're seeing out of Jinsoo's deck is one of the main things that has set apart these more modern Reno Mage lists from the kind of traditional ones. We were talking between matches about how the original Reno Mages were running, like, Faceless Summoner and Ethereal Conjurer, just to, like, any sort of, like, card, battle cry, make another card. But really, it's been the Zola and duplicates on these really high-impact minions like N'Zoth or Reno that seems to set this one apart. And here comes the one N'Zoth out of LvGe's deck. Let's see if it's good enough.
It's going to get a couple of Death Lords and that Sludge Belcher. There is a Direhorn Hatchling in the deck and a second Belcher, but LvGe had no good play this turn other than this N'Zoth.
The Direhorn Hatchling came out, though. I think it got, I think it might have gotten polymorphed.
Yes, I believe you're correct. Yeah, would have gotten polymorphed 2 turns ago and then killed with the Flame Strike last turn.
So unfortunately, you don't even get that one back. As we saw earlier, Jonah Ra's double Entomb denying Q-Block the ability to actually use its N'Zoth and Blood Reaver Gul'dan effectively. Skulking Geist, pretty much dead draw. It's only going to take 2 cards out of your own deck. I don't think we've even seen one of those Shield Slams yet.
Jinsoo trading off the Sludge Belcher, playing the N'Zoth, and not trading away that Blood Mage Thalnos. If he were to trade it away first, he would have gotten another copy of it, and he does not want that. He does not need additional cards, because just look at how stacked this hand is. Reno and N'Zoth, and Echo of Medivh to give him additional copies of everything that he has on board if he wants it.
And he can, like you mentioned, you can trade that off next turn, where he like maybe gets rid of the Blood Mage and just tries to get down to like 3 or 4 pretty valuable ones. And then you just use Echo as a regular old draw for. He can even Reno now and Echo if he wanted to, just to draw 5 or 6 cards if you were really dying to.
Just for an extra gain 4 life, yeah.
I mean, might as well trade off things like the Mad Scientist, because it's not going to pull a secret, and you just don't care to have one in hand that much.
Man, oh man, just look at
so tough. But at the same time, LvGe's sitting at 49 health.
Yeah, I mean, he's at 49 health, but you can be at 200 health, and it doesn't matter if you can't ever kill your opponent, and they are always going to have consistent pressure. 200 health certainly matters if Jinsoo didn't have any minions in play and no minion resources in hand, but that's just not the case here. It's very weird to hear that and not see the slashes on the board at the same time.
So Dirty Rat pulls the Skulking Geist into play. Echo of Medivh makes a copy of N'Zoth, and another Death Lord is going to come down to jam up the board a little more.
Public enemy number 1 for Jinsoo is Justicar Trueheart. So that's why he played that Dirty Rat and then went ahead and echoed it. He wants to try and pull that Justicar before LvGe can play it. But reasonably certain the second that LvGe draws it, that Justicar is coming down.
The old gain 6 turns. You can armor up, play Justicar. It refreshes as a tank up, and you tank up for another 4 armor. Of course, as you mentioned, the health total doesn't really matter. It's kind of like fighting a dungeon run boss at this point. He knows
there is nothing that LvGe can do. This has to be such a horrible matchup for LvGe, but Jinsoo is going to take the series 3 games to 2, taking down a top 8 finisher from the Wild Turn.